It numbs you, a nightmare, a horrible disease. These are just a few of the ways people have described mental illness in their lives, whether it's you, your child, or a friend. Mental illness impacts all of us in the same ways, and that's why the Mind Space podcast is committed to uncovering mental illness and the impact it has.
Bin Mohammed is my name, and welcome to the podcast. With me here today is Sheila Kanyima, and we're going to have an interesting discussion on mental health. She's going to share with us her history with mental illnesses, the stigma she's faced, and the reality she lives. Yes, so Sheila, please introduce yourself to the people.
Hi guys, my name is Sheila Kanyima. I'm a lawyer and writer, and I struggle with mental health and drug addiction.
Yes, so just like I am, she's an addict in recovery. She's still struggling with addiction, as you'll find out. So Sheila is a lawyer, quite impressive to say, but her story is also quite impressive. So she's going to run us back what tribe she is, because I mean we have to first represent Uganda, where we come from.
Yeah.
So tell the people where you come from, where you're born and raised, your family background, and a brief education background so that they can know who they're speaking to, listening to actually.
I'm from there. Born and raised in Kampala. I grew up most of the time, school time, I grew up in Bokoto. Yeah. Then now I live on my own with my mom's place,
Okay.
but I did grow up in Bokoto.
Okay.
Then primary, I did go to Kampala Parents. Then I left Kampala Parents. I went to a school in Seta called Seta Parents. That's where I did P7 from. Then O level, Taiba High, and A level, Creamland, St. Lawrence.
Okay, that's it. University.
University, I did my first sem from Kumba. Then I left and went to Ireland. That's where I finished law from.
Okay, so that's internship job.
Internship in law, it's called clerkship.
Yeah, clerkship.
I did clerkship from Dubai, and that's where after clerkship, that's where I got my first job. I did that and then came back to Uganda at the beginning of 2019. Yeah.
Okay, we'll get back into you getting back here. But briefly, so usually want to dive right in. They usually ask, where did it all start from? Where did the trouble all start from? Because I mean, you have been diagnosed with depression, anxiety, bipolarity, DID. I mean, there's a whole host of plus other addictions.
Mm-hmm.
Then the post-traumatic stress disorder.
Mm-hmm.
Then, so explain to us briefly. This is you, a young child, starting out playing. I can imagine with your friends and family. Then you're in school. Then all of a sudden things start happening. Because usually that is how things start happening.
Yeah, it started in primary. The signs started showing in primary, but at that age, you as a person, you don't know what's going on. You think maybe you just don't fit in with the friends you want to fit in with, or sometimes maybe because my mom and dad were separated at that time. So I also thought maybe it's because I don't get to see my dad as much as it used to be.
Separated at what time exactly?
They separated before I went to P4. Yeah. But we used to see him during holidays, but it's not like every day where you see him. Yeah. So I thought it was that. Then I get to P6, and we had this science teacher. He was really good. I can't mention his name for legal reasons, but he's, you know, Catholics, the ones they call brothers. Yeah, he was that one, a brother. So he would call us to the staff room, and some other girls I used to sit next to. And we used to wear dresses. and he would tell us like, lift up your dress and show me your knickers. Then sometimes, and he tells like, turn around. It's not funny, but and then he would, while he's marking the box, like he scolds you for failing something. You're supposed to be a sharp kid. You should have known this. Then, as a punishment, because we were not allowed to be beaten, so as a punishment, he would tell you like, kneel down and put your head on his lap and like near his area. And at that point, you're like, this is an adult. This person just wants me to be serious and pass school and stop playing. But at the same time, your instinct tells you, I don't want to do this. Like, why am I lifting my dress up for this man? I don't want someone to see my knickers. Like, in the dormitory, fellow girls, like, it's okay, like you're comparing, oh, mine is pink, mine is blue. Yeah, but if it's with the boys or someone else, then it feels like
weird at that stage.
Yeah, but you had to keep doing it because he was the adult and he was telling you to do it.
Yeah.
So at the end of the term, we did report him. I don't know who said it first, but we were called and asked about it, and everyone gave their story. But then when we went back the next term, he was still working there. And we became the bad people. He would call us out in class that we tried to ruin his name, we tried to ruin his career, we are bad people. So school started becoming the bad place. Like, I didn't want to go to class. And our class was next to the staff room, so you are going to see him even when it's not time for his lesson. So I became very secretive. I started holding back. I used to like playing. I stopped playing a lot. I stopped sharing with friends. I stopped talking a lot. I just wanted to keep to myself. I didn't like making friends anymore. Even the teachers I liked, I started like holding back. And my performance started showing the results. I started declining, and they told my mom, like, she's declining, like something is wrong. And they suspected that something was wrong at home. So we go for holidays, and my mom takes me to see a counselor who was her friend. And I didn't want to share with her because I didn't even know exactly what I'm supposed to share with her. But I did answer a few questions, and she told my mom I had short-term depression. She told her, yeah, it's common, it will go away, maybe it's just the adolescents trying to come in or something. You know, like kids at that age, maybe some boy likes at school, something like that. So they brushed it off like that. And you know, in those days, our parents weren't aware about mental health like now, and neither did we know we were young. So they brushed it off. I went back to school and just had to be a big girl about it, just keep quiet and try to finish primary. So I go to high school and I keep bottling up everything that's happening. Then in Form 4, something happened with my cousin. She went on and spread the worst stuff about me. So people started bullying me, everyone started.
What did your cousins?
We spent a holiday together at her mom's home. So when we went back to school, you know how you talk about people when you're on holiday, so like, if this one is your friend, did you share this, did you do this, like she told me this and stuff like that. So there's a girl who had a boyfriend, and sometimes we would use her phone to call home. Like, my mom refused me to take her phone to school, so we would use hers.
This is in Taiba?
Yeah. So when we went back to school, she told I was trying to steal her man.
Your cousin?
Yeah, she told the other girl that I was trying to steal her man. Whenever she would give me her phone, I was calling the man, not my mom. And then she went and I don't know what else she told the other people, but all my close friends started walking away from me. So, and you know, I'm a person, if you walk away from me, I'm not going to come and ask why. I'm going to just keep quiet and wait and see if you're going to come and ask and confront me and be like, did you say this or did you do this? So I'm just going to give you your space. Like, you've decided to go, you go. So I'll keep hurting in the inside, but I won't come out and see what's happening. So that went on, and again the performance declined. I hated school, yet I loved Taiba very much. I did love going there. So after a phone call, I was like, I'm not going back there, I'm not going back to see these same girls again.
So you were bullied in school?
Yeah.
In your O level, you were bullied?
Yeah. I'm not going back to see these girls, so I changed. I went to St. Lawrence.
Which campus?
Creamland. Yeah. A level only arts. So at St. Lawrence, now, people are teenagers, the adolescence is in the air, and the whole thing of, how boys were in high school, I've slept with her, I've touched with her, and it would piss me off. Because, like, why are you lying? Like, what's the point?
They tell lies, huh?
Yeah. Like, okay, you've told people you've banged me, but then you're going to meet me at the same time and smile in my face while you're lying. Like, what's the point of that? Like, if you're telling lies about me, then keep your space from me. Let's be like real enemies. But that whole hypocrisy of saying stuff behind my back that is not true, and then you come and pretend like we are friends, is just, it's like more annoying than someone who would like be straight up like we're enemies. So that also messed with me, because I like the truth. Like, I feel like there is no need to tell lies about certain things. Like, it's really unnecessary. So I went back to depression, but this time I did not tell my mom.
So the first time you told her was primary?
Yeah.
Then second time?
Second time, Form 6, I did not tell her. But there was someone who just told me to go and see the psychologist.
The school and the psychologist?
No, like at home. Someone just told me, you go and see a psychologist, like, let it out. So I went to see the psychologist, but she was giving me the whole born again thing, Jesus is here for you, what, and that's not what I wanted to hear at that time. I just wanted like a solution, like, can I go beat up these people or something? I don't want to hear God, like, where was God when all this stuff was happening?
How are you feeling as a person? I mean, people, we talk so much about depression and all these things, but how are you feeling as a girl in senior 6 having to deal with this?
At that point, I already had suicidal thoughts. I did, at some point, I did ask the boys for drugs, because it's mostly the boys who reserve their drugs in school. I did ask the boys for drugs, and I did try to take an overdose, but for some reason it did not work. Maybe I messed it up.
That's in school?
Yeah. So it did not work. All I wanted was something to happen so that they can rush me home, so that I can just be out of school. That's all I wanted. So, and I'd had drug overdoses, like, it's bad, they have to rush you to hospital and what. I was like, okay, that will work, and I know who has these drugs.
So in this whole period of Taiba and Creamland, you were not drinking, you were not smoking, you were not...
I was drinking a lot. We would drink a lot. We would sneak alcohol in school and drink. I was drinking a lot. I would like get the alcohol and put it in the splash packs so that people would think it's juice. And when class taking it and the teacher thinks, oh, you're just hydrating and it's alcohol. And it was always like vodka and stuff.
Was it a culture?
Yeah. And
so, like, because background, where we come from, usually the foundation, some of these things, when you look back, you can see the linkages. That is why we go back to try and trace out the origins of our problems. So the setting you are in, you believe, brought about alcoholism at this young age?
I think we were all experimenting at that point. So everyone was just trying everything. Like, we feel like we are now adults. We are big. We need to test this and that. And it was very available because St. Lawrence is just next to town, like it's in a bit of an urban area, so you can get access to anything. And the rules are not strict. You can just go to the administration and say, I want to go home and forge up something, and they'll let you go home. And when you come back, who's going to check you? So you can come back with anything. And I think the most common thing we had that time was mischief, that white mischief. Is that we used to use to celebrate people's birthdays. So that's what we used to do.
This was before you turned 18.
Yeah. And then during holidays, you tell your parents, I'm going to the mall, I'm going to the movies, then you don't go back home till 5 a.m. And you're drinking that. When you're done with drinking, you just get some chewing gum, sober up a little, and then go home like you are just getting splashed at the bar. Yeah. And my mom used to give me money to go out because she didn't like us to get that habit of jumping over the fence.
Yeah.
So she'll be like, if you want to go out, I'm going to give you money to go out. Just make sure you pick up my calls when I call you. Just know yourself.
Yeah.
So I had the money to even buy what I wanted.
You're well enabled.
Yes.
Okay.
But she didn't know I was drinking. She didn't know because I would make sure I get home when I'm sober. And the thing that helped me is she knows I sleep a lot naturally. So even if it was a hangover, she'd be like, yeah, that one naturally sleeps a lot. So like I would find ways to hide my bad habits.
So this is you in the atmosphere of intoxication. Basically, you're in the arena of intoxication.
Yeah.
This is you being bullied, and I don't know whatever happened in school. So this is you getting suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
But you're still in school.
Yeah, I used to do self-harming. I would cut myself, but I would cut like on the side of my stomach where I know nobody's going to see. Because for us in St. Lawrence, we had the cubicles for the showers, so you can shower alone without anyone seeing you. So I could hide that. And then if I can't find a way to cut myself, I would pinch myself. Whenever something bad would happen, I just pinch myself until it's so painful because I hate crying. I can't cry. I feel like if I cry, I'm weak. So I find some other way to harm myself so that I can release the emotions.
Okay. So that was a failed attempt.
Yeah, it failed and I was mad. And I had to go on the internet and see what did I do wrong, because I do research. Whenever I want to harm myself, I do research. Like I even call up my friends who are doctors or go to the hospital and pretend I'm sick of something, I'm going to see something and ask questions and do research. I know, okay, when I take 10 Panadols, I have to add it with this and add it with this, and this will be the results. My heart will stop for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I do thorough research like I'm doing a dissertation for school. So I always know to what extent a certain thing will take me, because I want an exact result. I don't want like to go halfway. I feel like that's cowardly. So I want the full thing. So that's why I always do research and know this will only make me throw up, this will only make me pass out, and this will stop my heart. So I do research for everything.
Okay, so this is you exhibiting suicidal tendencies at such an early age. How do you cope? You sit your papers?
Yeah, I do my papers. You know, you're excited to leave school, like, oh, we are done with school, we can't wait for university, freedom, living alone and all that. So that's what pushed me. I was like, let me just get done with this and go. Maybe this freedom at university will be better. It will, like, everything is going to be better from here. So that's what I had in mind.
Yeah. Was that the reality?
No. For the beginning, university was good, especially when I left Uganda.
What was Uganda when you were in Uganda?
When I was in Uganda, it was more partying, alcohol, drugs. You know, weed is very readily available. Cocaine, heroin, but for cocaine and heroin, I didn't do it like much. It was just for curiosity purposes. Like you go to parties, you know, people in the bathroom are doing it, and they're like, oh, can I try a line? So, like that. But for for that, I had seen documentaries about it, and I was like, I do not want to go down that line. I do not want to look like that, because there's this thing where you know how bad something is. So like, I don't want to ever go down that road, because you look at this one, they're like, they look so bad. Like, I don't want that.
So, university in Ireland.
Yeah.
There's a lot of beer.
There's a lot of beer in Ireland. The Irish do love their beer.
And you left an alcoholic.
Yeah.
So how is that transition? I mean, because most people who go to the diaspora with their addictions come back way worse than they left.
For the alcohol, it did actually change. I wasn't that much into it because of school, and I hate hangovers. I hate that feeling of nausea and your whole body is weak and stuff. So that was very easy for me to stop. But then I was holding back in class, so one of the professors told me to see the school psychologist, the university psychologist, to help me adjust. So while I was speaking with her, she noticed some things, so she kept calling me back. We kept having those sessions. So that's when again she told me, oh, I need to speak to your parents. It's not just depression, like there's something else wrong. So from childhood, I've always had these outbursts of moods, but we always found excuses for them. So then she told me, it's not just that, like, this is a mental illness, you're bipolar. And at that time, I knew what being bipolar is. So I was like, no, no, it can't be me. Like, I know, like, I'm very well functioning. I would notice this. She's like, have you ever been to psychology school? I'm like, no, but I mean, like, I've seen the documentaries. Like, we've all watched those YouTube videos. Like, you feel like you can tell, but then you actually can't tell. So that I was in denial for so long. I called my mom. I told her, because I didn't want her to hear it from somebody else, or in case it happened and she didn't know how to handle it. So I called her. I told her. She was in the UK. So she's like, okay, that makes sense. Let me do research about it. So she talks to my uncle, who's a psychiatrist. He explains everything to her. I start meds, antipsychotics and stuff, and I hated them.
You hated them?
I hated them because there's a way they make you weak. And it takes long for their effectiveness to show. So you have to keep taking them for a long time. And one of the worst ones they gave me was lithium. Lithium, there's a point where it makes you hyperactive. And this is the point where everyone is going to notice there's something wrong with you. And people who know it are going to be like, oh, so on treatment for mental illness.
Mania.
Yeah, and at that point, you know, boys are looking at you, you're trying to get into the dating life, and what, so you have to hide it. You'll be like, I don't want him to know this, like, if we look bad, they won't want me and stuff like that. So I got off the meds. Like, I didn't tell the psychologist I was off the meds, I just stopped them myself, and he did. And then I got done with university. I went to work, but I did get migraines before I left university. And I thought they were because of studying a lot, you know, law school, like books. It's a lot of work. So they started giving me painkillers, but at some point the tablets weren't working because these were chronic migraines. So when it gets to like the chronic level, like you need something stronger to help you. Because it would reach a point where I would have blurry vision, I can't sleep, I can't eat, I have nausea. At some point I would get seizures. So they upped the meds and started giving me IVs, injections. And the painkillers they give you, most of them are opioids. So they started with pethidine, and you know, they give you the whole talk like, listen, as much as this is helping you, it's also bad. Like, you're only supposed to take it when you really need it. Otherwise, like, just stick to the tablets.
Yeah, but usually we forget. They actually speaking to an addict.
So I kept taking pethidine. I kept going for it, but then it reached a point I was like, but this feels good to a certain extent.
I think some people need to understand what pethidine is.
Pethidine is an opioid. It's a painkiller.
The one that they give to?
They give to people in so much pain, like cancer patients, like surgery patients, chronic migraines, like people with injuries like backbone injuries, stuff like that, accident,
extreme
pain.
Yes. So you, on the other hand, were abusing this substance.
Yeah, I reached to a point that even when I didn't have the pain, I would just go and lie that I have the pain just to get it and get the euphoric feeling. So I kept on doing that, but when I got to Dubai, the thing is they are more strict. So you're not just going to get injectables like that. So I switched to the capsules, to tramadol capsules, which also have the same effect but not as much. But they would work. They would help. They would help at some point. And I also used to do amitriptyline. It's the only antipsychotic I kept taking because it would help me with the sleep. I would just like black out and forget every pain and problem I have. So when I came back to Uganda, I started seeing a neurologist for the migraines. And then he was like, we have to change pethidine, we have a problem with it here in the country, people are addicted to it, and I can't let you go down that road. So he first switches to some tablets like egotamine, cocodamol, and they weren't effective. Remember at this point, like I've already done the injectable, so the tablets are not going to help much. So he decides to change me to tramadol, the injection. So, tramadol has options. You can either get it IM or IV. IM is like through like the flesh, then IV is through the veins. So the first time I got it was through the vein, and it has very bad side effects. Like the beginning, you get the nausea, you get the heat rush, you get the dizziness, but then as that starts wearing off, you get the euphoric feeling, which everyone is looking for. Yeah. So I kept getting it, but then at some point they will tell me you have to get it IM, because some clinics will be like, we only give it IM because they know how bad it is. So when I would get it IM, the side effects would take longer to kick in. I'm like, nah. I want it through the vein. So I switched. I would always say I want it IV. And some clinics, it's not an over-the-counter thing. So some clinics are after money. They're like, as long as you're paying us, like, we shall give whatever you want, whether you're in pain or not. But still I had to act like I was in pain. So it reached a point where I was taking that every day. But I knew how bad it was, and I kept reading about addiction. And I did not want to get to that point where people find out and have to be like hospitalized and stuff. So I would find ways to hide it. When people would see me from that clinic, they'd be like, you're sick again? I'm like, oh, today it's malaria. Tomorrow it's, I don't know, something else. Yeah. So I'd always have excuses. I always go to an area where they don't know me, and that's where I'd get it from. And then it reached a point, and there's a day they gave me an overdose, and I blacked out. The doctor came back to the room, and I was on the ground. So that part scared me. I was like, okay, let me first stop. So I had to go through withdrawal for 3 days, and it was the worst thing. It's like the pain is excruciating. You feel like your own body is killing you. So, but I had to go through it and see if I can ever do it again. So I went through it. It was so painful. I called in sick at work. I didn't go to work for 3 days. But on the last day where I was able to eat and walk, it felt so good, like I'd achieved something, like, Yes.
Sobriety, at least a form of sobriety.
Yes, like, yeah, I'm strong, I can beat this, like, anytime I want, I can just stop this. But then I started having, like, issues. I went to see someone. It was my friends, get together, yeah, that's what they're called, get together. So we had to do the whole meeting before the wedding and stuff. So we go to her parents' home. We do the whole pleasantries and all that. So at night you get to the part where people are drinking and stuff. So during the day you're speaking to different people. So I start flirting with one of the men that were there. And it gets to at the night time to go home. And he says, I'll drop you guys. So me and my friend live next to each other, like it's a walking distance. So we drop her, then me next. So we get to me opening the gate, going in, and he's like, can I use your restroom? I'm like, okay. I mean, you wouldn't deny someone that. So they get in, they get done with whatever they wanted to do, come out, and I'm just standing there waiting for them, like, to leave, and I close the door, like, thank you for dropping me. And he switches up. So he starts kissing me, and I'm like, first stop, like, what's happening? And he's like,
fast.
yeah, and he's like, but we've been flirting the whole time. What, I thought this is what you wanted. So I told him, like, yeah, we did flirt, but we stopped flirting, and now we are home. Everyone is going home to sleep. Like, that was it. It was just like normal flirting. So it's like, is that what you do to people? That's mean. We're slut. You go on flirting with just anyone and then leave them hanging. And then he hit me and got out. And I remember I just stood there. I was in shock. Because you always have this thing, if a man ever hits me, I'll hit him back. So I was in shock. I was like, why did I hit him back? And why did I just get hit? Like, just because I led him on. And then after some time I go to bed and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, okay, I'm done to let him on. Like, it's me with the problem. Like, I caused this. I get where he's coming from. And I start the whole victim blaming thing, and I can't sleep. And the next day was a Monday, I have to go to work. So I text my boss and I tell him I'm in pain, I have food poisoning, I can't come. So what I do at 6, I'm like, okay, I'm over this. I decide to get a surgical blade because I always have them at my place, and I slit my wrist. And I waited, and I was like, okay, maybe it's not deep enough, let me continue. So I lie on my bed and I put a towel under it so that I don't stain the mattress. So I'm waiting to see how long it will take me before I pass out. And the worst thing that happens when you're trying to commit suicide is someone interrupting. That's the day my friend comes to borrow something from my place. And she keeps knocking and knocking, and I open, I tell her, okay, get what you want to get, I'm in a rush, I want to go home. And she notices the blood, and she's like, and the blood? And I'm like, no, it's just a small cut. And she's like, it's too much blood. And I'm like, yeah, it will stop. It was a very sharp knife. My knife is sharp. And she acts like she's cool with it. So she goes. Like, I think she's gone to wherever she's going. But she went and called her mom. And the mom came with the police and they took me to hospital. I get to the hospital. Of course, these are doctors. You're not going to lie to them that it's a knife. So I get committed to a psych ward. I spend there some days, of course, to do the whole talking, going through things and stuff. And that's when they discovered something that triggered it. There's another event that I had kept at the back of my mind. One of my mom's boyfriends when I was in Dubai, he came to to visit me. So he takes me shopping and what. And when we get to his hotel, he's like, oh, now you're old enough. I last saw you when you're a young girl. So he starts the same thing.
What's the same thing?
The sexual harassment, like he starts touching me, and then he tells me, you go to the bedroom, you give me a massage. And at this point I'm like, but you are my mom's, like, isn't this weird for you?
Yeah.
And he's like, but you're grown up and I'm not with your mom anymore. Like, that was some time back. This is different. You're grown up, you know these things and what. So I fake a call and leave. So now it adds up with this, and that's when I was like, okay, maybe I'm the one leading this man on. So if I just get out of the equation, it could stop. Like, you know, with sexual harassment, it feels like something small, like someone just touches you and that's it. But it's going to keep eating you up from the inside. You're going to keep blaming yourself, like you're the one who caused it.
Yeah.
And then you're going to look for ways to stop it. And it won't, because you'll be walking on the street and someone will catcall you and it will remind you of that. So it keeps eating you from the inside. Something you see as small, but it turns out into this something big. So I come from the psych ward and they put me back on antipsychotics. And I'm like, okay, this time I'm going to try and stay on them. So I'm like, I get to a point where I'm like, no, okay, I've stopped these ones. I go back to tramadol.
Was this when were you diagnosed with DID?
I was diagnosed with DID when lockdown, the first lockdown we
When
had
you're
in
back
Uganda.
So DID is split person disorder, basically.
Yeah.
So in simple terms, like a Harley Quinn, because that's the narrative I'm deciding to help them understand.
The Hollywood narrative.
The Hollywood narrative is
Yeah.
Harley Quinn. So how does that play out? Because antipsychotics, split person disorder, because that's meaning like 3 days from now it's going to be another you.
Yeah, it could even be like 5 minutes from now. Like, you never know when. Some people know, but for me, I don't know when the personality switch up. I don't know. And I still don't believe I have it. I feel like I was misdiagnosed. But I'm still in denial to some point. But there are things that happen that make me feel like, okay, maybe it's true. Because there are certain conversations I have with my friends, there are certain people I meet, there are certain things I do, and I don't remember anything at all. And people think you're faking it, and you're like, no, honestly, I don't remember this, I don't. And it's like different personalities. It's like you are the same person, but like different versions of you. And however much you try to explain to someone, like, I know you're saying I did this, but I'm sorry, I don't remember this. People are going to look at you like you're faking, or you just want to cut them off or something.
It's the reality.
Yeah. So I don't remember certain things. At some point, I thought it was that depression, because sometimes with depression, people get memory loss. But they told me it was that DID. So one personality will do something, and the other personalities won't remember it. Or we shall all do something and I will remember everything, or I won't. It's just that I never know what I'm going to remember and what I want.
So that makes for a very volatile situation, because when you look back at your history, because I'm sure in your psyche values, you have had a very good time to look at your history.
Yeah.
So you have seen how one thing has always compounded to the other.
Mm-hmm.
I think starting from the home, the nucleus,
Yeah.
when your father leaves,
Yeah.
then the sexual harassment,
Mm-hmm.
then it's repetitive, then you have the addiction coming in.
Yeah.
Because we not only get addicted to substances, we also get addicted to feelings and,
Mm-hmm.
So with the whole self-harm and the whole, basically, you're fighting for your life every day.
Yes.
Because you're still in active addiction.
Yeah.
You're still psychotic, as they say.
Yeah.
So, what is your reality? I mean, how have you managed to stay this grounded? Because so many people would have loved to be in your shoes, but they are not. And it's a blessing that you keep on winning. But what things have you done? Because I can only imagine how much therapy you have had to go through
I go every week.
every week.
Yeah.
So you had to unearth all these wounds and all the details that pertain your family, the sexual harassment, and all these things. So with the compartmentalization, how do you manage to survive? How have you managed to keep up?
Besides the meds, because me, I feel like they don't really help me at all. They just put me out there for everyone to understand what I have. I just decide to put me first. Like, even if it's family or what, even if it's my mom or I don't know, any other person, if something, if I'm in a space where it's not working for me, like, I'm not going to compromise. Like, that's it, I'm leaving. Whether I love you or not, I'm leaving. And this has brought problems with my mom. But I'm at that point where I'm like, it's me first. I come first. Like, I'm here for a reason. Like, I'm worth living a life, a good life, like other people. So I'm going to try very much to look at the positives and put me first and make sure my headspace is always in a good space. And they give you some things to follow in therapy. So they gave me this thing, which also a friend of mine told me every day, every morning when I wake up, I have to do self affirmation before I leave the house. So I have to go like, I am Sheila, I'm amazing, I'm intelligent, I'm worth something, I'm going to accomplish this, like my life matters, stuff like that. I have a reason to live for. Let me say I want a bag on Tuesday, I'd be like, I'm going to live till Tuesday and I have this bag or something like that. If I do something good, if like I spend a day or 2 days without tramadol, I'll be like, okay, I need to reward myself. I'll go buy myself something nice or eat something I've been craving or do something good or something to reward myself so that I feel good and it motivates me to keep pushing. Like, I have to learn to put myself first and like keep positive thoughts. Like, even on the days where you're like, yeah, it's not working, affect the positivity.
Yeah.
And at this point I can't fake it anymore. I will self-harm, but not to that extent where I want my life gone. It will be to that extent where like I just want to feel the pain, but then at the same time inside I keep looking for reasons why I should stay alive. Maybe I'll call someone and I'll tell them I'm feeling bad before I do it so that I can hear something positive, like Fahad said, oh, but you're amazing, thank you for helping me with my paper, or thank you for this. So that one thing that person will tell me will push me and I'll be like, okay, not today. Today I helped someone. Today I did something positive. So let me wait for another day that's bad, like that.
So what's the reality for someone like you? Because as you say, you do your research.
Yeah.
So you have been unfortunately taken up by the opioid pandemic. That alone is its own kind of struggle. Because now you're in a third world country. Because you have had the chance of interacting with the Western world and our reality here.
Yeah.
The treatment models are a bit different, but the results usually are the same. Because the treatment models are so appalling that 90% of addicts will continue relapsing till the day they die.
Yes.
So those are just statistics, because I mean, you and I are human. Our lives do matter.
Yeah.
But how do you live with that reality?
I think for me, I have this thing where, because I've gone through withdrawal before and I've managed to get that and accomplish it. So what I keep telling myself is, I've done this before, I can do it again, I can stop it at any time. So some days I'll be like, so it went from every day to skipping some days. So that's what I keep doing. I know one day I'll stop, but I just need to keep.
One day at a time.
Yeah.
You
Because I'm not going to promise that I'm going to wake up tomorrow and be like, I'm done with it. Because I know everything bad about it. There's nothing new somebody's going to tell me that I don't know, that I'm harming myself. I know everything. Like the specialists have told me, I've done my own research, I know. But I need to get to that point where I'm like,
when you've had enough.
yeah.
Because
I know I don't want to get to the point where it's fatal. I know that, and I try not to get there, but I can't promise I'm just going to wake up and stop.
Yeah.
I know it will be a process. Like I'm doing it my own way. Like some days I'll skip and I'll be happy about that, and I'll keep trying to do that until one day I finally don't need it.
So let's talk support systems. Do you have a support system? Because there's a lot of stigma around mental health. Because if someone comes out and says I'm an alcoholic, the other says I'm a marijuana user, the other says I do whatever I do, or you know, any illness, I suffer from depression, I suffer from bipolarity, there's always a stigma that comes with that. I mean, how is your family centered around itself? I mean, how are you? What's the reaction from them?
My family does not handle it well. It's one of my cousins, Angela, the one I live with. She's the one who tries to understand. Maybe because she went to med school. But my mom, it's she's still trying to figure it out, because you know she'll be this person who'll be like, okay, I understand there's something wrong with you. You don't feel like talking today. We are going to give you your space. Then the next minute she'll be like, what don't you have? You have a roof over your head, you went to the schools you wanted, you have food, you can travel, you can do this, so why are you suffering from this? Like, you're being ungrateful. So it's like
So as usually as us as the addicts and the people suffering with these conditions, we usually have a way of telling our story that suits our narrative, usually excluding the part we're playing it, the role. Because I mean, not everything bad that has happened to you or I is because of other people.
yeah.
You get?
Yeah.
Because ideally you have heard of you know, the sphere of concern and the sphere of influence. So how do you, because you as a person, you know what you can control and what you cannot control.
Yes.
So what role have you acknowledged that you have played in the situation that you are in right now?
I do know when it comes to addiction that I did start it myself, and I have no excuse as to why I continue doing that. And I can't blame my mental health for it, that it helps me handle it. There are other ways I could cope with mental health than using something to make me forget everything. So for that I know, but for the addiction part I know solely to blame.
Because you're not just addicted to substances. We get addicted to circumstances and situations that we encompass ourselves in this bubble of our reality of so much pain that we can't even live without it.
Yeah.
You get? That pain is what lets us know we are alive. And for an addict, that is like one of the worst things that drives us is like we're chasing a green dragon.
Yeah.
There's never enough pain. Like no matter what you do, you'll always know that, oh fuck, yesterday I tried. Now you have to get up and try to inflict more pain. It's the bittersweet pain, but I mean the big-headedness, the stubbornness, because they call it insanity. What? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting
different results.
You get? So there's a role we play in this. You get? So minus the denial, because you say yes, you may be in denial for the split person, whatever, but we cannot be in denial for all these other things. You get? So what role do you as a person sit back and you're like, you know, because clearly you're doing better.
Yes.
You are here.
Better. Yeah.
Much better, you're here. But I mean, what role have you played that you know is also detrimental to your recovery?
sometimes I let things happen when I know the results. Like, I have anxiety too, so I will put myself in a situation that I know will trigger it and then go through it and then blame it on something else. But I know I cause certain things, but I try I try not to feel so sorry for myself anymore. I don't want to look at myself like a victim of something, of mental health or something like
Because
that.
we're good at that.
Yeah.
We victimize ourselves so much.
Yeah.
You get, like, because I mean, it's not in a bad way, but it's really sometimes appalling when we know it ourselves. Because you can't always blame circumstances and situation.
Yeah.
Because you know everything that is because we are. So in the basics, you have been to AA or NA? You subscribe to any of those?
Nope.
So as an addict, your support system is not really grounded.
It's just myself.
It's just you against the world.
Yes.
And the Lord, because these are, I believe, the principles that we live by.
I do pray. My faith is shaky. I have issues with God, but I do still pray every day. I was raised Christian, Catholic, but in our family, our parents leave you to go to whatever religion you want to, like subscribe to whatever you want, as long as it's not like witchcraft. So I could wake up Muslim, I could wake up atheist, anything. So I do believe in God, like to a certain extent, and I do pray every day. Not not like strong prayer, but I do pray when I wake up and when I go to bed. Like, those are the constant two prayers that I have to do every day.
How do you pray?
But I do pray that, our Father, dear God, thank you for what you've given me today. Forgive me for all that I've done wrong today. Watch over us as we sleep and bless us more the next day. Yeah.
Amen.
Amen.
You repeat that every day?
I repeat the same prayer every day.
You repeat the same prayer every day.
Yeah. I
So-
only add on a little. Maybe if I get like something super exciting,
Yeah.
I'll add it at the end, like to show that I'm super grateful and God shouldn't punish me for not being grateful.
Yeah. So you believe in God
Yes, I do
despite
believe
your
in
lack
God.
of faith,
Yes.
because addicts suffer from an adverse lack of faith.
I do believe in God. I do.
You do. Okay.
Do you genuinely love your mom?
I do love my mom, but our relationship has always been shaky since I was in primary.
In your whole conversation, I have noticed that there's a huge scare around you, and you have to refer to her. You're living to impress her. Do you have a love-hate relationship? You know, it's okay for children to hate their parents, just like some
Yes.
parents hate their children.
Yeah.
Do you think your mom hates you? Genuinely, like, for the lack, just hate? Charles, I think my dad hates me. Do you think your mom hates me?
No, I don't think my mom hates me. I think my mom loves me. I'm just not what she expected me to be. I haven't lived up to her personal expectations. She wanted me to go into business like her, like go to moves, like be like a girl, go to the salon with her, finish campus, get married, be rich and this, and I totally went a different direction.
So let me put that for you in context. Imagine I was you're dating me, and I failed everything you'd expect of me. Do you think you'd love me or hate me?
I would not be pleased.
Exactly. So being pleased is also hate, but because of course the umbrella of them being your parent, so you want to cover it from there. But there's that hate that this conversation should focus on between you and your mom.
I don't feel like she hates me. I just feel like I'm disappointing to a certain extent. But she doesn't hate me. Otherwise, she wouldn't still be helping me with certain things.
She's your mom.
Yeah, she
She
still
has to help
pays
you
for
with certain
school. she still sometimes sends me allowance.
Yeah, because basically she's a single mom.
Yeah, our dad died when I was in primary. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've also been raised by a single mother. More or less the same story as yours. More or less the same rocky path as yours. More or less the same path most addicts have actually trekked.
Yeah.
You get? But I mean, at the end of the day, we have to acknowledge that these are our parents. And how we react or respond to them is the reason as to why we remain in the situations we are in.
I do feel like I've disappointed her, and I try so much.
Why are you leaving to impress her?
Because that is the code between a mother and a daughter. That's the code.
Because
you will not
I'm
understand.
the firstborn girl. I'm supposed to be like an example to my sister, and I need her to see that I have not failed. That the path I chose for myself was right, and it will work.
Inshallah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's briefly as we end, I want to just come up with a collage here. There's something very interesting about you. You are pansexual.
Yes.
Yes, please talk to the audience and let them know what that means.
Pansexual means attracted to anyone regardless of their gender. Like, I don't mind what gender you assigned at birth, or you're genderless. If there's a connection, there's a connection.
Are there genderless people?
There's some people who identify as genderless.
Man, who are these people? Start with who are these people who are not gender?
Some people just don't want to fit under
in a box.
Yeah, they don't want male, female, or intersex. They don't want any of that. They just want it to be plain.
We will not pay attention to those ones. Let's pay attention to you. So you're attracted. I also don't think you're attracted to people who have no sex. I don't think that's possible.
Asexual people.
Asexual
people. The
Asexual
ones who
people.
don't have sex.
No, those ones are their own things. But I'm saying, like, you're attracted to both men and women.
Yes.
Where does this stem from?
I don't know. I think it has always been there since primary. That's when I started noticing I like girls.
Since primary.
Yeah.
You started noticing you like girls.
Yeah, and we used to kiss with some girls.
You used to kiss with some girls.
Yeah.
This was in Kampala, parents. Huh?
No, this was in Seta. And it never felt wrong. It was just like, okay, girls are cute, boys are cute. Okay, it never felt wrong until I grew up, and when the whole homosexual thing was a thing, started becoming a thing in Uganda.
When it was brought to your attention that it's not right.
That it's not right.
It was a thing in Uganda before you were born.
Yeah, but there's a period where the time they were trying to pass the bill, at that point we were a bit like older, we could understand and read. That's when I found out my mom doesn't support it. Like, she likes the girls. She's like, oh, they're cute, they act like girls, they have nice style, but don't be one of them. Just because I like looking at them and I can speak with them, I don't expect you to be one of them. So I have never come out to my family. Only my cousins know, because we're all age mates and stuff, and they're cool with it, they don't mind. But for the adults, like our parents and stuff, like, no.
You believe you're conditioned into that? Because you stated, you gave us the origin of where it started from. So you were not born that way.
I think I was born that way, because in primary...
Because it's a thought. A thought is not knowledge. The knowledge is this is where it started from. Right.
I don't think it started from... I think it was always there. I just got to know...
You triggered it?
Yeah.
Because there's genetics and epigenetics in this. You get, there's part of where we get into your family history and get to know, I mean, is there a history of addiction in your family?
None that I know of. All I know, no, for my dad, yeah, he was an alcoholic.
Into the next generation.
Like this?
Wait,
Let's
why?
see.
Like that.
You are actually supposed to be a straight human being.
Why? Because my fingers said
So you are conditioned.
Do you?
This a Jew gave us this technique. I have a joke.
Do I?
Think you're just a spoiled rich kid?
No, I'm not. I didn't grow up rich. I grew up middle class, comfortable, like most people in
Who are most
Uganda.
people?
Okay, but
Like-
do you think you have the mentality of a spoiled rich kid?
No.
A privileged kid? Do you think you drowned in your own privilege and you mistaken in your life?
I don't think so.
There's a narrative of people who do not understand how some of these aspects of life operate. One person, actually, a colleague of mine, Mark Keronomala, once told me I am privileged to be an addict, like to have been an addict. That I mean, you people were buying expensive things. He said I was privileged, and I think it's the first time I'm letting him know. I was shocked.
How is that privilege?
Because I mean, how much do your drugs cost?
It's enough to feed
You
someone.
just drowned in it, you see?
You get? It's enough to what? To feed someone. So when you compute it, it doesn't make sense to someone why you'd be spending that. Because for him, ideally, he doesn't have it. You get? So if you're spending, let's say, 100,000 on drugs, someone have the privilege, the right to call you privileged?
No, I struggle to get that money. It's just not that readily available.
Yeah.
I look for it like I'm looking for money
Your whole
for rent or
conversation
food.
from the schools you dropped out to the ones you went to the bounce back of knowing. You also talked about the fact that you know that you're going to do some shit when it happens. It just shows that you had all this support system.
Because there's exposure.
You go to school and escape to another school.
Do we take into account exposure? Because all this is from the schools. That's why we go all the way back. I, for one, was also in Kampala parents. You are from Kampala parents. You're not the only person from Kampala parents I've hosted here. You get it? Not in a bad way. But when people like Mark Heron come up with this whole narrative of privileged, because you'll find that in Uganda it's the children from Bugolobi. Once you go to Bugolobi, they know themselves and they're addicts amongst themselves. You get? I'm sure you also know those people from Bugolobi. And it's not
Do
something.
you have statistics to these things?
No, it's not something that has happened today or yesterday. Like it transcends time. The alcoholics who have been in Bugolobi 50 years, and we can still trace them. You get? So there's that common belief, of course. Ideally, we're talking about opioids, and majority of people do not know and have not yet had the opportunity. And I pray they never have the opportunity of using these drugs. But I mean, that's a class that has not yet really penetrated into our grassroots, and that is really, we thank God for that. But imagine the scale and magnitude of the opioid pandemic. Let's say the one that was in Korea and in Asia, or the one that's currently in the West. Imagine it here. Because our simple marijuana and PDD, a cheap alcohol, is already problematic enough with the cheap heroin and whatnot that's on the street. But if we had the opioid pandemic, if we had a full-scale opioid pandemic, would our infrastructure be able to handle it?
No.
Because that is where we're going. We can't roll it out 10 years from now, because right now we already have clear examples. I mean, there are already Ugandans that are already addicted to these things. So it's only a matter of time till, you give birth and you clearly know you're bringing your children into a Uganda that is littered with what? Things that are going to derail them. So how do you see, what's the reality of Uganda? Because you mentioned that when you came back to Uganda, it's not what you expected.
No. I think we are trying, but we are still very lazy about it. Like, people don't care. People look at addiction and all this, they still look at it as something like, if you're doing it, you're a bad person, you're to blame. Like, if we are to help you and then you relapse, then you're a gone case. Instead of handling it the way other people would handle it. So if we can't rehabilitate these people, then it's going to be really bad. And for us, money comes first. Even if it's not an over-the-counter drug, but we shall find ways to get it. We shall always find ways to get it. So if it happens, I feel like it will be 5 times worse, and we shall not be able to control it, because there's still a lot of stigma around drug addiction. So the moment, if we can't even help and control the people at Puerto Rico, it's only one facility, and not everybody is going to afford to go to private psych ward like I did. So if we can't even manage that, now imagine the opioid pandemic. Like we shall be gone. We can't.
You can't.
Yeah.
So, but so far so good. People at Puerto Rico are doing a commendable job.
They are, but
Irrespective.
It's only that one place.
Yeah. So far.
By now we should have had like 3 more other referral mental institutions.
So what is your advice? What advice would you give us as a people to better our mental health and further this discussion? What would you tell someone out there, a young girl or young boy who sees themselves through your eyes? I mean, they literally, everything you have said, they picked out some of the things that they are living there right now. What words can you give them to just keep on?
Just because you're going through something like drug addiction or mental illness doesn't mean you failed. You can still be able to be whatever you want and continue with the plans you had, because I still know I'm harming myself, but I'm not letting it take over what I want to be. I'm still going to go for further education and do what I want to be. I'm still going to wake up every day and go to work, because I know being employed or being self-employed is something like very important to me. So you need to keep, you've not failed. You're not again case, as people put it, as most of our families put it. You can still be whatever you want to be. You can still recover. Like, it's not going to happen in one day and be like, okay, I've dropped this, I'm done. It will be a process. And when you relapse, like, don't be too hard on yourself. It happens. And you can still pick yourself up and go. And always do the self-affirmation every day. Before you leave to go into the world, like, say something good to yourself. At the end of the day, when you're back home, before you go to sleep, think about the positive things that have happened that day. And think about the bad things. And then, like, find a way to get a reason out of those for tomorrow. Be like, today I managed to hand in my report. Tomorrow I'll stay alive because I want to talk to so and so. The next day I'll stay alive because I want to go out. The next day I'll stay alive because I love my parents. Like, every day find a reason why you should stay alive. And when you feel like you've run out of reasons, just call someone and tell me something nice about myself. And it might help, just like that.
Yeah, so in recovery we say, one day at a time. Till next time.
It numbs you, a nightmare, a horrible disease. These are just a few of the ways people have described mental illness in their lives, whether it's you, your child, or a friend. Mental illness impacts all of us in the same ways, and that's why the Mind Space podcast is committed to uncovering mental illness and the impact it has.